Today we are going to work on making an unusual rainbow with a baby Yoda on top. So I'm just drawing really lightly. I'm not sure you can see it with a watercolor pencil, so hopefully this will disappear with water. Just to get my rainbow in, make sure I have enough room for a little Yoda on top. So I'm gonna make sure that I stay kind of below that line. Starting with a nice soft gray on dry paper, I'm gonna do a nice thick but small line. We're gonna feather this out by adding water in a minute. I want to make sure I have lots of pigment on there. And while it's still wet, that's the key. You come in, clean water. You just touch the edge of this. And I want both sides to be soft. See, there's some spots where it doesn't have as much pigment as I would like, and while it's wet, that's a good time to go and add a little bit more. Okay, next I'm gonna do black. I'm mixing my black with a dark brown to kind of get a beautiful firm color. Same thing, nice little tight line. You can see where it's wet and it's already moving. Not worried about my line being perfect, just going underneath what I had before. I'm going to do the same thing, feather it out, just getting my brush wet, but also clean, and adding water to that edge to get it to move. There's lots of pigment there, so you get nice movement. I want both sides to move. Dropping a little more pigment in. And this rainbow is inspired by Star Wars colors, which is why I'm going with gray and black. I feel like those are like Death Star, all the electronics. I associate lots of gray and black with Star Wars. But this started because I made a yellow rainbow. My daughter was like, oh, I want a rainbow, a yellow rainbow. And I will insert some pictures here. You can see there was a yellow rainbow and a pink rainbow and a Christmas rainbow. And the idea is that rainbows don't have to be rainbow, but I think the shapes and the lines still give you the illusion. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing and add enough lines. Typically I like, this is a good, because I've got a little too much water there and it puddled and my colors moved too much, so I'm just drawing it a little bit. Typically I like to add 5 lines to my rainbow, but you can add 3, you can add 4, you can add 7. You could do a regular rainbow rather than a funny colored rainbow. I just wanted to do a little something different. So I am going to go ahead and finish this up, add a few more colors, or a few more lines rather, not colors. when it comes to these rainbows, I tend to think that less is more. Let the watercolor do some of the pretty work. You just add in a little bit of dark where you think you need it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to let this naturally completely dry before I get any pencil drawing going on it, because I tend to move my hand over the drawing. And I learned something recently, that you do not use a hair dryer. It can burn and damage your paper. It also does dull the colors. I confirmed this by calling over to Daniel Smith and speaking to literally the experts in the field. And they were like, no, don't use a hair dryer. It dries the top layer first, and then the under layer is still wet. And this is what causes that to have the dull look. In addition, it does damage your paper when your paper gets too warm. So we're not going to hair dry this. We're going to come back in a little bit and work into this once it's naturally dried. I'm going to start in with my Stabilo, and I like big heads and little bodies. So we're going to just start right in and do a messy sketch. I want my head to be kind of in the middle. Oh, and he's not. Kind of in the middle, right there. And I'll firm this up in a minute and do a little raising. And I like it when the ears come down just a little bit. It's got this nice top ear. It really kind of comes in like this. A little underside of his ear. I'm going to go ahead and do this one that comes down just a little bit also. Again with his top ear. I'm shortening this a little bit from what he is naturally, but you get to kind of make your own design choices when you draw. Everybody should recognize him as a Yoda by the time I'm done. And he wears this cute little robe that has this oversized neck. So we'll give him a little oversized neck there. And you know, I'm thinking I might try something different. I've drawn him this way a few times. I might try to, I'm gonna go ahead and erase that. Clean up some of those lines just a little bit. But I've been playing with these big heads and these teeny tiny bodies. So I'm wondering if I don't instead give him this little bitty body and a big head. Kind of wears this like little robe thing. I know it doesn't have buttons on it, but I feel like it should have buttons. So I just put buttons on there. Get little buttonholes right there. Kind of look like piggy noses. He's got these little arms. He's got the nice big cuff arms and just notion of a hand right in there. And you know what? He is standing on this rainbow and you never see his feet. So I'm gonna make sure that his robe just drops down. And I'll give a little shading there just to kind of make the illusion of a little foot. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go back in with a little green. This is a Super Color 2 soft watercolor pencil. Empire Green is the one I grabbed, but any green would work. And if you don't have watercolor pencils, you could just start in with watercolor and do a little shading around. Oh, I forgot to do his face. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the face in green to keep some of my pencil marks out of it. So give him a nice circle eye. Nice big circle eyes. And he has these cute shapes that are actually pretty similar to the eyes I draw already. So it's really just kind of a modification of what I like to do. I'll note in green eye, and I'm going to bring that Stabilo back in and draw in this giant beautiful pupil with a big pretty highlight. want to make sure that your highlights end up the same spot roughly. Then he has lots of little wrinkles. So we're gonna, little eyebrow, yeah. Let's do this. We're gonna mix some styles. We'll give him a little eyebrow there, little eyebrow there. Gonna give him a little nose, little button nose, little nostrils. Kind of has this like little frown, like he looks really concerned all the time. Work on that little frown there. I want to really add some darks around this edge. We'll give him hairs at the end. I'm gonna add some dark in here. Make sure we start with some green. We're at it. I think I might throw just a little bit of a brown into his suit. This is another watercolor pencil, like grabbed burnt sienna. Almost any brown will do. You can make any brown work. Just working on getting a little bit of color in there for starters. It's gonna be darker where his arms are and a little shadow underneath. Okay. Grab watercolors. I have a mixed palette. You can use any watercolors you have. If you don't own watercolors already, I highly recommend Daniel Smith. They're my favorite. And don't want to overdo it. There we go. Make sure you leave some white spaces. This is just our first layer. We can go back a whole bunch of times. Gonna add some shadows. Trying to create the illusion of a ball, essentially. When I look at pictures of him, I always think that he's got this pretty orangey color in his ear. Do a little less on this side. Drop even a little bit more pink in there to kind of really drive that in. And I think that he has brown eyes, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a little brown. And really, I feel like this first layer is me just masking in where I want color. When I look at the pictures of him, his little collar here, it's really like a creamy color. So I'm gonna mix up cream. It's kind of a cream gray. So we'll start with a cream, we can add some gray later. And any of those hard edges you don't want, now is a good time to blend them out a little bit. Cream on the cuffs there. Got a little green poking through in his little hands. go back in and start layering a little more color in. The paper's still wet, so I'm just trying to create some low spaces in here. Once that green has dried well, I like to go in and start getting those pupils in, which will really change the look. It's really a dark brown. It's not actually black, but we'll darken it with some black pencil in a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with a little pencil. Got this, what is this? I'm gonna go back in with a little juniper green pencil. Really get some dark edges in here. Kind of start giving his face a little definition. Should really have like a little chin under there. Really kind of like a little shadow on the edge of this green. Now if you don't have pencils, this can just be done with watercolor. I really like the pencil marks in my work. You'll see I don't always mush them out completely. That's just personal preference. Really get some dark in that spot. Okay, we're gonna go blend that out a little bit. This watercolor pencil, it activates with water. But if you don't move it too much, you keep a little of its pencil definition too, which is what I like about it. We're starting to get a shape, face, and some dark brown to his eyes. Blend that out in a second. More green is not really what I want there. Go work on a suit for a few minutes. Darken this brown. Make sure we keep the dark spots where we want our shadows. I'm going to go ahead and pull a little bit of gray, the same gray used in this rainbow, right into his collar. You always want to repeat colors that you use when you can. Move some colors from here up there, some down here, except for I don't want any green in my, my rainbow is very monochromatic. Well, gray and black. But we'll get a little bit of that gray up in here. Just adding a little more color to his ears. Make sure that that's not a hard line. I'm going to make sure he's nice and dry before we go back in with pencil. Okay, I think he's nice and dry. For this part, you want to make sure your pencils are very sharp because we're working little, so we want little lines. I'm adding the little wrinkles in his mouth. I'm going to add some dark nostrils under there. Now I'm going to add that black line in his eye that really will define his eye. We'll go back and we're going to add some white in at the end also to make it stand out. I sharpened this pencil already. If yours isn't sharpened, go ahead and sharpen it so you get these nice tight lines. And just a little pencil around his neck, his head. I'm going to get some dark in here still. I'm going to bring some green back to this area. Okay. I want a little more dark in these. I'm giving the illusion of pattern just a little bit there. Okay. I'm going to bring some dark green right in here because I really want this to look like he's round and be a shadow. And blend some of that gray out. And just take and do a quick swipe over that black. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase some of the lines around him that I don't think I want anymore. Sometimes I leave them, sometimes I erase them. Today, you want to make sure everything's dry, because if you're not careful at this point, you smudge your work. That pencil mark I've decided I don't want, just go and pull out. My work is never perfectly clean, so you have a little spot there. I'll see if I can clean that up a little bit, but I don't worry about it. I think it's just part of the nature of not being a photograph. See, a lot of everything I've used is water soluble, so some of this will disappear with a little water and a gentle work of the brush. Bring a paper towel in and just wipe that up. Just see some little eraser marks. Okay, I can see a little eyebrow gotten lost. And sometimes I like to test, I think that'll be a good color for his hairs. I want his hairs to be nice and sharp. I'm gonna go with a light color for his hairs today. I really got these little bitty fine hairs off of his head. And they really stand on top of the ears just a little bit. These details aren't noticeable from far away, but I know they're there. I really like them. Gonna go just put a little more gray in there. Now I want to tone up some of this brown in his eyes. Really make it nice and bright. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add just a little bit of Sharpie to see. This is a white paint pen. You can use white acrylic with a tiny brush. You can use gesso with a brush. Just make sure your paint pen is acrylic, matte acrylic, if you want to work back on top of it. While we're there, go ahead and give him some highlights. Clean up these highlights. Make sure there's one on his nose. Sometimes I like to put a little dot there. And if you had too much, just go and dab it out. Okay. And I think I want to darken this little eye crease just a little bit. Maybe this little ear area. Okay. A little shadow around that button. The scarf, and I'm going to go ahead and blend some of that out. Okay, and once that paint right in there is dry, I like to go in with, again, nice sharp pencil. And I add just a little bit of red here. Kind of give him the illusion of a little spot in his eye. And then I think that he needs some pink cheeks. But really, I'm going to use the same orangey pink color I mixed up. Just opera pink and a bright yellow. I'm not even sure which yellow. Just give him a little, oh, see, and that's too orange. Lift that up a little bit. There we go. A little redder. Okay, it's mostly dry. Just blending out the edges. I just want the illusion of a little cheek color in here. I don't want like big bright cheeks on him. You could do big bright cheeks on yours. That would be cute too, I think. Yeah, I just want just a little bit. Okay. Let's see. What else are we missing? I like to throw a little blue shade in here. The eye. See, that was bluish pale, Super Color Soft. Maybe I'll throw just a tiny bit of that, like over here, because it's a pretty color. Can layer in nice. Okay, I think he's done. I think he's really cute. You could use this for lettering. You could leave it blank. You could put a quote in there. You could put some photos. You could draw, you know, some stars around him, anything you want. But for now, I think I'm just going to leave him here. Happy painting!